So we're opening the meeting at 6:15 PM. And we have one member arriving in a few minutes. And boom. Is that
Wow, that
I
was
guess,
impressive.
that was like incredible.
Sorry about that. I
No, no,
thought we were meeting at 6:30.
No, that one's stapled or not stapled?
I think the top one is, no, that's your minutes.
That's your minutes.
That's all that.
Okay,
Give
so,
Rebecca a chance, Brian
yeah,
Davis.
so the agenda, I think, you have one. You have the agenda.
Oh, yeah, if you want me to go make another cup.
No, I'm just
Wait, no,
I'll
here.
just glance at it, if you don't mind, because I just need to look what I did. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of jump around the agenda rather than going right to the cleaned up survey results. I think the committee report and then back to the survey results, because it end up being part of the same thing. And then we do need to talk about an informational session. Even if we have something that might change, at some point we have to start pushing more information out. It's clear to me we do. So what I tried to do in this report was look at everything we've done, including the slides that Brian's brought, including the presentations we've had, including Rebecca's enormous amount of data on contracts, on our contract, on cost of our contract, I mean, all of this stuff. We have so much information. That I started to say, okay, what do we want to talk about? So after rewriting, reorganizing several times, I came back to, okay, we have a capacity issue, a shrinking capacity for trash, right? That's the first section, talking about, landfills and this closing, because that's a big deal. And then that is also explains the rising tonnage costs that we're looking at. Okay, they're tied together. And then I went into a little bit more. I know that Rebecca's spoken about it a few times, but I want to try and quantify it maybe better than I have here. That this is a difficult quantity to include in the budget. Not just because of its enormous size right now, but because of the fact that, okay, you can budget for curbside pickup, but not for tonnage. What are you gonna do for tonnage? Can't run over. It's not like snow and ice, we can't go over. So my guess is Rebecca looks at the highest possible month and maybe adds a little to it, looks at the price for the next contract year and puts in an overly large, a little bit over the amount. Maybe more than a little bit, given the size of this budget. And that's really difficult to do in a budget thing. It's just one more thing that we're trying to, guesstimate, estimate that could go wrong. And as it becomes a larger cost, if it goes wrong, we could have a significant deficit that we would have to, I don't know. I mean, we'd be in a little bit of a quandary because if we sit there and say, well, we couldn't foresee it, then what would cause something that we absolutely couldn't foresee with trash? We've seen the pandemic rise. We know how bad it can get. We know the tonnage that this town is capable of reaching.
Yeah.
So that's what that section is about. That's difficult. And then I went into a whole section on overrides, and I decided not to show the rubbish, but just to show overall overrides and growth, just to show you, we're a pretty fiscally tight town, and there's nothing wrong with that. People really don't tend to vote for general overrides. Because they understand the fact that it's there forever. They understand to some level, I mean, a surprising amount of people understand that it goes to the purpose it's intended for that 1 year, but the next year it can go elsewhere. And I think that's one of the reasons why you'll see debt exclusions or capital things sometimes go through, but general overrides, and you see all the different titles that they put on them. So can you really put something on an override and then not do it if the override fails? Not really with trash. If the override fails, we've got a really unbalanced budget, right? So do we cut all the other departments to pay for the trash? Or do we scramble and have trash not get picked up? Or we figure out how people can hire their own haulers? I mean, to put trash on an override, the size town we have and the amount of tonnage, is I think a really unwise endeavor at this point. If you're gonna put something on an override, you should be prepared that if it fails, you're not going to budget for that. And I don't think trash fits into that category really. So I also got into, in that same section, I think that, or did I? I know I had it written, maybe I deleted it, who knows? I had a section that talked about, you know, that you don't have to budget for trash. Yeah, I think I lost that verbiage. I think I have to find it. Because I know that some people say, you know, well, trash is part of the town budget. I had a fairness and equity section. Did I lose it? In all of this? I feel like I lost that page. I did, sorry. It's not there. I'm going to search for it in the documents. I'll see if I can get it printed. But in fairness and equity, there were two things I thought maybe three. I talked about that we have developments in town that are not allowed to receive trash services. They must hire their own. That's how they were built.
Yep.
So Whitestone Village has to have its own trash service. We will not do their trash. But if it's in the tax rate, they're paying for trash. Oh,
That's ridiculous.
that's how these condominiums and big, large apartments, this is how they're being approved, I believe. That they're being approved on the condition they get their own trash service. We don't have to deal with their trash.
But. okay.
Yeah, so.
But that's
I mean-
not just trash, that's all essential town services inclusive of the development, which is to.
Well, I mean, they
train.
could, if they had a child, send their child to the school. They could, if they needed help from the police or fire, get help with, they can,
Right.
they
They
can.
don't plow, they don't
Right.
maintain the roadway.
We don't
make the
plow,
Sidewalk, we
right,
don't
and
do,
snow and ice is in the town budget,
it's
but,
not just trash, that's all.
yeah, but snow and ice has to be in the town budget. I don't know of a town that doesn't have it in their budget, but trash does not have to be in the budget. There are towns like Merrimack and Georgetown that have most or all of it outside their budget. You go up to New Hampshire, I think it's even more widespread. You
So
don't,
I'm
you
lost. So
don't
what are you
have to
saying that
put
it's?
trash
it's-
in your budget. Trash is not
Right,
a
but-
mandatory part of a town budget.
But
But if it isn't, then everybody gets their own hauler.
Well, no, they usually do like an approved list. I believe that's how they handle it in Georgetown and in Merrimack. That'd be
What do you
my son
mean?
Andrew, he always calls this time and he always knows I'm busy, so we'll let him just wait.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm getting lost here.
so, no, okay, so Merrimack, you pay for the bags, you pay somebody directly 4 times a year. Georgetown, they have a transfer station where you can bring things for a fee,
Right.
or you can hire someone to come pick up your curbside.
back to the fairness and equity
Yeah,
part.
right. That's.
They're paying the taxes for something that they're
No,
privately.
that they're not entitled to. It would be
But then should-
similar, no, it'd be similar to this. If we took town water and let everybody just divvy it up on the tax rate. Almost everybody has water anyway. What's the big deal?
Wait, no, I don't.
Yes, because, so here's the thing, trash does not have to be collected. Snow and ice has to be taken care of by the town in the town budget. It's a safety issue. Fire and police.
Trash is also a safety issue.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's a
But
public health
not,
issue.
not as part of a town budget. Many towns do not put trash in their budget, because, think about it, they don't want to deal with the complaints, they let people contract directly with the hauler.
They're gonna deal with the complaints regardless.
Right.
Who's the hauler is and
Right.
who's
But
responsible.
the
to
hauler
deal with
gets the complaints, the town doesn't, because the town doesn't, unless there's a real huge problem.
I disagree with
Yeah,
that. I
I
think they're
don't
gonna call the
think we're
town.
getting off-
regardless of-
Getting off topic
The
here.
town will say, well, that's the hauler, who's you hire, right? So,
Maybe.
but they do that in other towns. Georgetown, you can bring your trash to the transfer
Right, because
station.
they have it, we don't have that.
No, we don't have that.
So so it's not really part of our conversation.
Well, no, what about
Right.
Merrimack? They don't have the whole trash budget in their budget.
My
I think you're
understanding
definitely
was you
pointing-
paid a fee in Merrimack, an annual fee.
Yep. So they've taken part of that out of their budget, out of the town budget.
Yeah, but
That's what-
my understanding was that they were still getting trash collection as part of their budget, but they were, each house was assessed an annual fee. That was my understanding, and I could be wrong.
No, they
per
told me
bag,
they pay
aren't
four-
they?
they
I don't
buy the
know.
bags and they pay 4 times a year is what I heard. I
Yeah.
still haven't gotten all the details. But my point is.
Speaking to friends in Merrimack, they didn't say anything about bags. They just said that they pay an annual fee. It's part of their,
Right. I think they buy the bags too.
I'm just telling you what I was
Okay,
told by
yeah.
friends I have in Merrimack that.
I'm getting it from friends of friends, so that's the problem is Merrimack doesn't have a lot of this documented anywhere that I can find. Their budget isn't laid out the way ours is. So these are things to get more information about. Get more information about Georgetown. Because people do get curbside there too, if they don't want to have to
Right.
go to the transfer station.
And they
You
pay a
know,
fee for it.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So what are you proposing?
I'm disappointed. I thought rather than proposing yet, that's at the end of this. The first thing would be to lay out that there's other models that may be more fair, right? They could be perceived as more fair because the people from Whitestone, one wrote an email that said, you know, why do I have to pay for this?
Hmm.
I have to pay for trash in my Whitestone village. Why do I have to pay for it again in my tax rate?
Mhm.
I don't blame them.
So what do we do about that?
Well, to date, we've done nothing. But I mean, it's just, these are all things to be pointed out as we move through this, because I think it's important, and that's why I lost that whole section. So can you just write on the top of yours, I have to find the fairness and equity section, because that was important. I wanted to just identify the drivers, the whole outlook of trash and recycling contracts. The difficulty to budget, the fairness and equity, the overrides history, we have that. And then in Groveland's next contract, I made this table. I have one column for us, one column for if we see something from the survey that makes us think people want this or that. One column for feedback from the public when we have our information session. This is the thing we started with Groveland's next contract. Remember, we had that roughed out list of things. So I took it and I made it into a table. And then, of course, the select board recommendations on each of those issues. Now, maybe you think this is too detailed. This is really pages of it.
Okay.
So this is where I thought tonight we could spend some time. Rather than trying to rewrite sentences, look at this table. Do we have enough information to fill it in?
Did you,
So cards will be provided by the town to all homes that decide to participate. Are we recommending, do we already know what we're recommending on that? About providing the cards? I would say we're a go on that, right?
yeah,
I thought we were.
Yes, okay. So we would say yes for that. And feedback from the survey, nobody said they didn't want the cards provided, not that I'm aware of, not in an overwhelming percentage, is that correct? The size of the card was an issue, but not the actual give me a free card.
Agreed. There was commentary about what would be done for cards that were already purchased. There was commentary about what we would do with the older cards that were the cards that they had. And then there were commentary about whether or not we should just stick with what we have. Don't change it.
Don't change anything.
CPC.
I know, that's always the way, right? When in doubt, nix the whole thing. No, we can't do that. So we're a yes on this. The survey would be positive on this. Okay. So, Brian, did we get anywhere on the 64-gallon cart versus 235s?
In regards to funding,
Well, in regards to what would we be perceived as? Would we be perceived as making a step towards pay as you throw if we had a fee?
in regards to pay as you throw and grant, if you had a 35-gallon, offered a 35-gallon cart with the option to lease a second cart,
Yeah,
and then not even talking with no pay as you throw bags even involved in that process.
correct, no bad.
Everyone gets a free cart and they have the option to lease a second cart.
Yeah.
That's gonna be considered the $30 per household grant. So that would be considered somewhere between a full and a modified PT. But from a grant perspective, it'd be the $30
For trash carts? or
for
just
trash,
recycling?
for trash carts. Recycling carts, we don't have grant funding for.
Okay.
But I would direct you towards like this recycling partnership, who I know Rebecca, this was kind of in conversation with them. I think they rejected you guys before, and Ron was trying to reach out to get them to reconsider.
That'd be good.
As it comes to 64 gallons, and that if you guys went 64 gallon carts, there wouldn't be any funding from the state.
You have
Um,
to have the,
And even if you had a fee, unless all the bags in them will pay as you, unless you have to put like pay as you throw bags
Okay,
inside them.
Yes.
so what do you think about the first 35-gallon cart has no fee and the second one has the fee?
Yes.
Yeah.
1000%.
I mean, everybody's gonna go for two.
No.
No, they're not.
Well, most
I wouldn't
people.
say that.
I don't know.
60% of the town has said they don't.
60% of the respondents to the
Of the
survey.
respondents.
Yes, okay.
That's,
But you got
that's
a pretty
little more
good-
than half.
You got a pretty good response to the survey, considering most surveys don't get that kind of response.
But what
I
I
mean, is it representative? Maybe not, but it was a pretty good response.
And would people do it right off? I wonder if people would even do it right off the bat. Like you might have more of a population being like, okay, let me see if I can fit into the 35
Right.
and then request more afterwards. I would see that being a population. And again, you mentioned what Topsfield, so Topsfield's rolling out a almost identical program to this, an identical, a 35 gallon with an option to lease a second one. And so then they're also rolling it out with a compost program at the same time, which I know we talked about, and their kind of rationale is they give the free one, say they price their second cart at $170 for the second cart. Then if a resident requests a second cart, the first thing they'll kind of say is composting would cost you like $80 a year or $100 a year. Do you want to try composting first to see if you can fit into
Oh, I
fit into that first cart? So that's kind of their plan for their rollout.
Interesting, so.
Are there grants available to help get a composting program started?
You guys already.
Yeah, we got it.
I already applied for it. Actually, I don't know who applied for it, but yeah, you guys got it.
Okay.
And it would help with like this, it would alleviate the costs of the, the at-home, the kits that people, like the starter.
But it's not a lot of money. It's
Not a lot
only
of money.
$2,000
It's
and then
$10 a
the
household.
stipulation was like an issue that I just recently found about whether or not we can move forward because the select board hasn't voted to implement a program. They voted for us to move forward and consider the composting program, but they didn't vote for the actual program. And that's as part of that checklist you just recently sent me. So I need to connect with you afterwards
Okay.
and get more detail.
Okay.
Okay. When the select board met on the cart sizes and saw the survey response, the sense I got from them is that they feel that most likely at least 60% of the town is gonna want to have the ability to throw out 64 gallons of trash.
Then they can get the second cart.
That gives them more than 64 gallons if they get. the
No, now
second
they're
one.
70. I
That's
know.
70.
Kind of the irony of it, yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
That's the irony.
So then that raises the question, do you just go with the 64-gallon car?
So I think the perspective, at least why the state would provides funding for the 35
I
gallons.
get
Yeah,
it.
is that people fill up what they're
Yeah, given.
given. So you can
Yeah,
make the argument that now they're filling up 70, but
Yes,
so I would be interested that they're filling up 70 as opposed to 64 now. But I mean, that 35 is a lot less than 64, than 64 is less than 70, so.
But logistically, wouldn't we have to have enough 35-gallon carts so that somebody moves in, they want two carts? We have to be able to provide that. So logistically, we'd have a little bit of a, there'd have to be the program would require some management in the town. You know what I mean? Because of the two carts, as opposed
Right.
to just buying everybody one cart.
So if you bought a second cart, okay, if you bought a second cart, is that an annual fee you pay?
It has to,
Okay.
yeah.
And do you also have to have the pay-as-you-throw bags?
No,
Okay,
no,
so
yeah,
what I think would be a really easier way to do this
Yes.
is to do a staggered approach.
okay,
Ask the select board about purchasing the recycle carts first,
okay,
because it seems like most of the town is happy with that. And then for this fiscal year, you get the recycle carts to everybody. As long as we're 100% sure that every trash company that we might get an RFP from can handle a 96 gallon when in their automated pickup, that it isn't
Okay.
too big. Because
Right.
I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm assuming, I don't want to assume. But if we started out with
Let
that,
me just write that down too, though.
Can every
that would
owner
give
handle-
everybody their wheeled recycling cart. They would have more room for recycling from the get-go. They wouldn't have to haul out the bin. Some people only have one bin,
Yeah,
so their recycling is limited anyway. It would also make those recyclables dry and clean,
well.
so we
yeah,
would have less contamination
That's a big deal.
and less weight when they pick it up.
Yes, that has to.
People would be happy with this. And then they might find out too, as we go along, we still continue to see if we want to do the 34 now, which I think we still should do. But if they're able to recycle more and not have to put it in their trash, they might see that the 35 really isn't as small as they thought. Because all their cardboard's going to fit in better into the 96.
I'm just,
They're not going to like put some stuff in the trash because it doesn't all fit in the recycling bin.
I
that
know,
they
but
currently
I
have.
tend to see popping the lids up on the trash cans or trash bags. I mean, I think that.
So I think that this, can I just
the 96
finish?
is a
Can I
good
just finish?
idea.
Can I
Yeah,
just finish this, please?
yeah.
I think that it's just a better public relations thing to do,
PR,
is
yeah.
to start, we know we have to go to automated pickup. We've decided that we have to in our next
Yeah,
contract.
Right,
So let's start by giving people what really they think is a good idea.
yeah,
You know, funding that, getting people used to having more room for their recycling,
yeah.
and then go to what size cart we're gonna get for trash. Rather than try to do it all at once.
I know. Well, the problem will be we will have to pay for these carts.
Yes,
Out
But if
of
we-
our stabilization
Right.
account. We're gonna be putting
we're
out.
gonna have to pay for them anyway.
No, if you tied it with the automated pickup, the reduction in the curbside pickup contract would probably offset a good piece of that.
But that's for our next contract.
I know. Right,
So-
well, that's why I wondered, because we're gonna spend this money, we're gonna spend money.
Yeah,
We're not gonna get any savings from waste management. They're not gonna go to bi-weekly, they're not gonna give us a break, they're just,
so we're 100% sure about that?
oh yeah, be sure about them.
So I think,
They won't do anything for us right now, unless we give them more years on the same contract with all the additional charges that we've been paying all these other years. I mean, we're getting socked here with these hidden 10% contamination charges.
No, I understand, but we have 1 year left, right?
Right, and they pick up everything. So even if we give the carts, we will, let's say we did that. People are still gonna throw other stuff out there and waste management's still gonna pick it all up.
But I'm saying, I guess my feeling is,
Yeah, I guess.
but no, my feeling is we have to move in this direction. Eric.
Yes,
We're talking about, we're moving in this direction.
yes,
If we get the ball rolling and do something positive
yes.
now, as we're continuing on this road, we're not like hitting everybody with everything at once.
I
You
kind
know?
of agree with you, but the one thing I'd be a little bit wary of is like, so we give them this for free. They don't have to change really anything that they're doing. They continue to let the trash pile on top of the can and beside it. And we'll see. I mean, if things start to look more cleaned up at the curb, that would be a nice improvement. Because I think it would be interesting to drive around and just see how we're doing, because we tried to limit it to the 264s.
So are you advocating that we wait for when we do our next contract to do all of it?
We might get some positive PR, but I don't think it's going to change any minds.
I
about
mean,
the size of
but-
the trash can. I think we're still gonna be faced with a lot. of
Well,
people
that
are
could
gonna
be
want to-
true, but
Yeah.
the thing is that it's not that 100% of the public said
Yeah,
that, oh, there's no way I can do this.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
understand that.
And what it tells me is there's still a lot of opportunity for education and why we're moving in that direction.
Yeah.
The other thing it tells me is if you take 7, say you have a family of 5 and you take 7 milk cartons,
Yes,
okay, and you tie them together,
yeah,
that's how much each person in your family. can fit into a 35-gallon.
No,
So it's really a lot of trash.
it really is. No, I agree. That's one thing I agree on.
And I
too, is think
remember
that-
when we had those metal barrels, that's all we had.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody maybe put out one
I know.
of those. They were small. So it's kind of like, it can be done.
It can be done.
It
You're
can
right.
be
I just
done.
think the education part is the crux of the issue too, that people need to learn how to recycle better, how, like the tips you keep talking
Right,
about,
well-
but we have to have like a coordinated program for how we're gonna attack this, like how, where do we start?
So here's a thought, like.
It's hard to have people recycle better if they have only got one of those bins.
No, I agree with you on that. So.
I mean,
we could
so to
definitely-
me, the big cart will really help with people recycling more and better. And it's an
Well,
incentive because then
it
you're
is
gonna
an
have less
incentive,
trash in
yes.
your,
But another thought too is, I mean, I found that it was really surprising even to me that I put a small, like, you know, you get the popcorn at Christmas in the can thing, that's so small cans, like a wastebasket, up in the bathroom, and everything that can be recycled, you know, shampoo,
Yes,
I throw it in there. Surprisingly, it fills.
yes.
These are things that don't make it down to the main recycling. So could we ever do a little PR and make a little green?
Yes, I think we have to come up with a
You know,
coordinated education.
You know,
campaign.
because if you were giving those out, you know, people you knew maybe they were start to change, because it means changing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's always hard, but so for me, I would have never thought there was that much stuff upstairs that needed to go downstairs until I put the can there and then I, you know, and then miraculously, my husband threw something in it.
Yeah, well, to that point, like if you do go with, I think a coordinated education like effort makes sense either way,
Yes.
depending
Right.
regardless of the timing. But if you do go forward with that option of like, okay, you do recycling carts this year and then trash next year.
forever.
And then that gives you a whole year of
Exactly.
reducing waste from the
Yes.
recycling perspective and this coordinated recycle. So now what's that 60-40 look like? And you get the fifth, now maybe after a year, it's actually 50-50. It can be in 35s and need the second, like now you're getting, people are already starting to think, people are already starting to feel a little bit closer to that 35 gallons, starting to seem a little more feasible for people after a year of
Having
kind of like
more space for their.
more space for cycling and more outreach about education.
Right.
But or even if you go the cart sooner, like I'd still think a coordinated education effort like that. I think any sort of waste reduction.
That's where we have to start.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did a lot of looking at what you were saying and I can't find the quote yet. So there are some things online that tell you those white plastic kitchen garbage bags, like how much when you throw that in a.
I think it's 3 for a 35 gallon is.
You have
Three
a
of
good-
them, is it?
good-
That's what I've seen
I think
online.
I saw it on your
It's
desk
like
from the
one.
company.
Yeah, I think people.
That's, I mean, I think the perception is that thing. would fit
It
in
didn't
one,
show
and I think
how
that's-
many bags fit.
Yeah,
in the
I've seen
35
3 on
bags.
that.
Yeah. I mean, when you peer down in there, it's like,
It's bigger than you think.
it's bigger than what I got now.
On TV, you should.
It's a step up.
That's a good idea.
I mean, I'm happy to, for the March show, I'm happy to do whatever you guys tell me. I can't.
Right. So if
Which
you,
size?
Sorry. I just saw on your desk from the new company with the
Which size?
cards.
96.
A 96?
No, the
No, the
35,
35 is.
35, how many bags?
13 gallon
Yeah.
bags.
Right.
Then the 65 gallon is 6 13 gallon bags.
But is my kitchen bag a 13-gallon bag, do you think? I don't really.
That we
know.
don't know.
See, that's what I mean. Like, these are the things
but-
that, you know, we just buy the box every week, right? I don't know.
Well, it says on the
I use
box.
green trash bags and if I have to, I can get 3 of them in that barrel. I'll guarantee you I can get 3 of them if I have to. I don't put 3 out.
About how you do your.
Yeah.
Just smoosh up.
No
the-
snow cones.
Absolutely.
No snow cones. either.
I don't use 3 trash bags. I put 1, maybe 2 a week out.
This one says, if,
5.
no,
That being said,
yeah,
if we go to recycling carts, we're moving towards automated, which we're gonna have to do regardless,
Right.
because no trash hauler is going to
It's already
take
been-
us on
Yes.
Right.
without automated. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Waste Management, Mellow, no trash hauler is gonna take us on without
Agreed.
automation.
I agree.
So that being said,
Yeah.
if we phase it in, are they gonna phase in automation as a waste hauler? Or are they gonna say, no, you have to do it all at once?
Oh, that's a good question.
No, you mean waste management?
Any hauler,
Can we stay?
Well, we would have to get the rest of it done for the next
For
contract.
the next contract, we have a year and a half.
So we still
I
have
know,
time.
but what I'm saying is, right now, are they even using an automated truck in any form or fashion? Because when they come to my house, they don't use an automated truck. They just pick.
They don't have a on it.
Oh,
Oh, I've,
That's an interesting point.
yeah.
They have it on Main Street, but you'll still see sometimes there's two guys and they get out and they have to position the barrels.
No, this guy gets out and he picks the barrel up and dumps it in and
That's-
picks up the
That's a
recycling.
good
and dumps it
question
in.
worth asking, because I know they do have, the Mel, you guys have Mel, I know they do
Yeah,
have,
we have waste management.
we have waste.
so you have waste management, okay, I know they do have cart, yeah, so.
I've seen them use the automation in town. I have, but not every truck, I don't think, uses automation. I know when they come down my street, at least at my house, when I'm home and they pick up the trash, they are out there manually picking it up.
Okay.
That's a worthwhile question for them.
So,
And I have some documents on, and I didn't put them in this report yet. Maybe if you want, we can. The documents on the injuries and the liabilities and why the trash companies are moving away from picking up. I have something from Waste Management.
it makes
about why
sense.
they don't want to do manual pickups
If you
anymore.
think we need that in there to convince people.
Do you feel we should have that in there? I have so much stuff. I kept putting in and taking out.
I mean,
mean-
people might.
But I
need
mean, we're not
extra
moving to full automation anyway with waste management until we have.
not
Yeah.
right away, but at some point we will be, and people should
but
understand
if
the
we keep
rationale
them-
behind it.
No, but if we,
Okay, so rationale behind automation.
may not keep the company anyway.
Right.
I mean, so
If-
they-
Even if we do keep the company, they will probably push to go to full automation.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I mean, we have to get another cart. I
Yes.
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, is it possible to phase it in with the popular thing first?
Right, but that's my question,
Everybody
will they wait that long, or are they gonna push to go to full automation now, because of the very reason?
Well, it
They're-
didn't sound
they're-
like they were willing to open their contract, though.
Not unless we add another year to it.
See?
We
Yeah, but
haven't
so-
really had the conversation, to be honest with you. We started the initial conversation and they gave us initial terms as to what they would like to do moving forward. We had a follow-up conversation. We asked for additional details in regards to a contamination audit and what the blended value and the calculations, and if they could give us more details. They said they would. Arthur followed up with an email and then they said, oh, no, they wouldn't do that. So we haven't had a meeting afterwards to kind of go back and forth with
Right.
details. So it's not that they wouldn't negotiate, but they did have some pretty adjective is escaping me, but they had some terms that were not gonna be something that we would wanna move forward with, such as additional costs for bags and barrels and not extending the contract or bi-weekly, I mean, extending it beyond the 3 years, things like that.
Yeah.
But we never had the follow-up conversation to say, we would do this, but not this. We would do this, but not this.
Okay.
But if we want to go with what Jan, and you see, I think everybody's kind of thinking, yes, I know Rebecca was kind of pushing it too at one point. This should be worked into the public information session as one of like the headliner sections.
The rationale, you mean?
The giving, to starting replacing the recycling containers at the town's expense now.
Well, the ones we've had since like 1994.
Right, and it's messy, it's dirty, things are all over the place, even when people try to weigh it down, depends
Right.
on what happens.
Right, but I mean, it has been a long time.
But your arguments too, that people may, if they start using the bigger container, find that they might be able to move to the 35 gallon.
I think it's a smart idea.
I mean, my husband says, no way that we can do that, he and I keep thinking.
For two people, tell them, yes, you can.
That's
I know,
better.
but I'm just saying, that's a common reaction, this go, hey, look at this truck, no way, you know?
Challenge accepted.
Yes, except we want people to buy in, so starting with a more gentle approach where we get the recycling cleaned up first.
And then
at town,
pound them with
But it will
education.
be a town expense, so we have to sell that to the
Right,
select board.
that's true.
Yep,
Yeah.
there'll be no reduction to our contract or anything like that. Don't expect,
Not in this fiscal year, that's for sure, yeah.
yeah, and not next year, I wouldn't expect it at all, because they're gonna want
I
something.
wish there was, maybe you can find, like you said, you're looking into that grant that we
There-
didn't get.
Yeah,
Because that would be a tremendous help if we got any kind of help.
yeah.
You know, don't you think
Which
this
one-
would
which one is
sweeten the
that?
deal?
Yeah.
Cycling partnership,
You know, we-
one.
We were
Like-
trying to get a grant toward the carts. Wasn't gonna pay for it hundred percent, but it was gonna
I'll
help.
forget what the number is, but yeah, I'll
Wait,
follow,
no,
I'll
I don't
follow up
think-
with them on that.
Yeah, what
They-
is-
So if you want it, if you want to move to the recycling section of the table first, since that's kind of where we dumped.
Cycling partnership grant. Okay.
Okay, so, I mean, we initially talked about wanting to get a separate proposal perhaps for just recycling as part of the next contract. Right? But now you want to move with the 96 early, early buy, right?
It's a suggestion.
Yeah, it's worth,
But
I mean,
I think we're still in agreement. We did vote for the 96.
yes, but I mean, the worst that can happen is the select board can say, no, we don't want to do it. I mean, we do have funds in stabilization that could be put towards us. We can also try again for a grant, you know, telling them we're trying
Right,
to,
right.
we're trying to move our recycling forward. We won't be able to go to the bi-weekly pickup in this contract, right? They said no to that, right?
They did say,
Yeah.
Did they give a rationale?
because they have to, there's something about their trucks, but again,
I know.
we didn't get a chance to come back
Hmm.
and say
Sure.
that would be something that we would want.
Bi-weekly pickup will break down their trucks faster. I
Do
mean,
they do the dual, you guys don't have the dual
I'd
stream
like to
trucks,
have
do
their
you?
guys.
Yeah.
That, maybe that's
Yes.
what you guys have, the dual stream trucks, so they're sending
Uh,
anyway.
Right, and then they're gonna
Like,
have
put
to,
them on dual stream.
They like
Yeah.
allocating their
Trips.
guy
Yeah.
5 days a week to Groveland.
Yeah,
Even though
5 days.
Groveland
But they
doesn't-
could send you, they could just give you a
give a
different
trash
truck.
truck.
They have
Right.
other trucks, like, yeah,
they're gonna have a million trucks. They're a huge
Yeah.
company.
yeah.
Okay, so we, in the chart, I said we wanted to explore the bi-weekly pickup in the next contract, right? We did want that in the next contract.
Well, if it's
I mean, we
cheaper,
talked about it,
but if it
It's a
isn't cheaper,
96-gallon car.
does it make financial sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could make financial sense if,
It shouldn't be very heavy. I mean, putting out every other week is just one less thing you have to roll out, especially if you have 35-gallon carts already.
Bi-weekly cheaper?
well, if it's cheaper, I'm all for it.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, so what about, is it that important to try and unbundle this from the trash contract? And that's kind of a Rebecca question. Do you care either which way or do you just leave it open?
I guess I don't understand what you mean by it.
Well, in other words, in the past, of course, Groveland's past is we just would ask whoever was like you, the financial person, go out and get us some contracts. You
does it
know,
make sense to put the recycling out separate from the trash?
yeah, do we want to see
For
that?
RFPs?
I don't really think so. I mean, but I don't know how that's more of a. I mean, you can look at what you have you have a hauler, right?
Right.
So even just like having like general conversations with Mello has referred to the fact that they're not like a waste management where they don't own certain plants and certain things, whereas like waste management owns a plant and a recycling facility and a MRF or whatever, so it makes it a lot easier. So when you talk about transporting and going to a community, does it make more financial sense to have one hauler because they're already in the community doing something? Or does it make sense to have a different hauler come in on a different day, obviously, because you would have to coordinate the routes and the
Right.
pickup
Right.
and all that. So, I mean, I would imagine it would be the same to do it makes sense to do one with both, but I mean, I think it's also a personal or committee preference too, as to what they're looking to
Right.
do.
I mean, I think it makes sense to have them in here once. I'm wondering if it would make it any cheaper to have them in here less number of days in the week. I mean, we heard that they can do Tewksbury, which is 10,000 houses in a day.
Yeah.
We have 2,000 houses. It should be a day.
5 days
tops.
plus,
You know,
That's
it
the
seems
overrun
like there
there.
should be negotiation on that for sure.
I
right?
mean,
So on the recycling.
Less gas, less
issue,
everything.
One of the things was that, I didn't know if by going directly to a hauler that's tied to a recycling center only, are there haulers with just recycling, right? There are, right?
Castella,
Costello, okay.
Casella?
right? Aren't they?
Is that, one of
I
them's a
think they
carbon,
have.
one of them's a recycling, I keep mixing them up. Aventa.
Covanta's the
Covanta
place.
is a plant.
That's the
Plant.
place.
Yeah.
That's the incinerator.
Casella is a hauler
Yeah.
and they
With the
do
recycling.
it all.
Yeah,
So
I don't know. I mean,
we paid the middleman fees to Waste Management, but maybe that's just the Waste Management way. Like-
Waste Management has their own facility.
so why are we paying
That's what-
middleman fee?
why are we Paying all the middle fees.
Well, I mean,
I know, right? Because in essence, I think we're paying more per ton for recycling most of the time compared to trash. Is that wrong or right?
No, it's not more.
We pay $100
It's,
processing.
it's
fees for
close. They're
recycling.
very close. But I don't,
Right?
the last time I looked at it wasn't more.
I think you guys get rebates on, if I was looking at your spreadsheet correctly, I think you do get
We get 50% of the rebate.
of the recycle, yeah. So I think I looked at it, something like most of, there was like 1 year, and maybe it was like 2020 where I think you were spending more on recycling actually than trash. But I think the last 2 years, it was something like $70 a ton for recycling as opposed to like the 95 for trash. That's like loosely based off what I remember.
The Boxford summary, where their negotiation with Waste Management fell apart was when they tried to, they didn't understand why they could only have 50% of the black, because you're already paying a processing fee, a fuel energy charge, you're paying all these other charges.
Yeah,
So why, when you finally get into the black on your recycling, do you only get 50% of that as much?
right. They need to
Why
be
do they have to-
regulated.
Why do they have to take that in addition to the processing fee? You know, I think that was Boxford's, and that's where they split off, and I believe they went to Mellow.
They did.
So did they get a better deal on the recycling then?
They don't have the same type of situation
Oh,
that
okay.
the Mercs have. So we have like the blended value. They have like and Brian knows more, but the AMV, which I believe is the market value. So
Yeah.
the way that they break it down is much different. You get like a flat fee, so it doesn't fluctuate every month. And it's
Okay.
negotiated between the hauler and the company, and then they go back and they audit it and they adjust it, and you always get a flat. Rate.
For the year or for the month?
I'm not sure exactly how it
Okay,
works.
okay,
I'm not familiar with it, but it
Yeah.
seems like it's pretty much steady. And then if it needs to be altered based upon what they're seeing from contamination and their commodity audit type of thing, right, with the
Yeah.
market values or
Yeah.
something like
Okay.
that, where they
Commodity
check
audit.
it. And then that will adjust the rate because of that.
Okay, so. Do we still want to have some of that, like, I have your other things in here, in recycling, but this is for the next contract. The recycling cannot be, it should say cannot be redirected without town approval in writing. Is that what you wanted, the diverted time? Recycling cannot be redirected without town approval in writing.
That's pretty thin, that's kind of thin, so that's essentially probably something we mentioned in the contracting group is sometimes they'll. The plant that they normally go to is full at capacity, so then they divert it to another facility, but they don't tell the towns. So that would be saying they have to tell the towns they're doing that, or more so what we recommend in the contracting is if they do that, they have to still they can't change the rate. So if you have $90 a ton because it's dropped off in
Okay.
Peabody and then Peabody's full, so they go somewhere else, they can't say, oh, hey, we diverted that waste and it's actually $110 per ton at this other place. They still have to charge you the $90 a ton. So it's just getting in writing that even if they divert waste to another facility.
So is it
It's a-
trash and recycling this can happen too?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well, it's probably more likely would happen with trash.
Okay,
But yeah,
is that where we see our diverted tons of trash?
We do see a diversion,
Okay.
but our issue is because we have a dual stream. If one gets full, he can't put it in the other one, so then they have to take the truck off and get him to dump it so that they can come back and finish the route.
Right, because they need 5 days to do the whole town. We really have a predicament. Okay, I have down on the recyclable list, expand the list of recyclables. So that would be comparing what we have now to what other towns are allowed to recycle.
Well, it's these other towns that can recycle things that we're not able to. For example, the plastic coated quarts of juice and milk and things like that.
So those plastic containers, those have to go in the trash?
Yeah,
Wow.
unless you live in whatever town it is that you can send them to the recycler.
Huh,
Uh-huh.
I thought it was just the cardboard, the plastic cardboard.
That's what I mean, the plastic coated,
Okay, so the
the
actual.
plastic
If you buy
jugs
the.
can
pla-
go in the
Okay,
recycling.
so just when you buy that cardboard with the plastic coating on it,
Correct.
some towns do
You can
this.
recycle those.
Does it say recycling on the side of it? Does it have a little,
I don't know, but there are towns in Massachusetts where they are
Okay.
recyclable.
all right. Okay, so. I don't know why I have, these things I put in because I thought they were things that we had said. 100, oh yeah, the 100% of the difference between blended value and processing. And once contract to caller is. The caller is responsible for the recycling. I had that down and I have a question mark, but I don't know why. Is there some fear that once we sign a contract, they won't come get the recycling? No, right? Once you contract, they're responsible for the recycling. So I don't know why that was down on the chart. I maybe misunderstood something that was being said. Okay, so under the whole recycling though, if we wanted to try and move up the idea of bringing in those 96-gallon carts, we need to fit that into the public information session and explain the why of it. Does that make sense, Jen? Yeah?
Why that we want to go to 96?
Why we want to roll out in
The
staggered,
staggered.
why we want to roll out in staggered. I mean, you kind of said it well, but I feel like we can't just march through this presentation and
We're-
ignore that.
We're presenting the public with this.
Yeah, well, eventually, once we finish hacking it up. She looked at my face like,
No, I'm just like, this is just a,
Yeah, I think
this is not really,
that's something that I think would be fruitful to have like. Start developing like an outline for of like what that information session looks
Okay.
like. And like my initial thoughts on it, I think for sure are like. For example, if you want like me to talk about like the capacity, the kind of.
yes,
The capacity and the rising costs, like the general waste, like why. We care about waste reduction as a state and that whole picture.
Yeah.
And then maybe like you want to talk about like I think the budgeting and the overrides, like an interesting piece that you can probably speak to in like a little more like clarity than I. It doesn't have to be like anything like crazy, like those are four like relatively straightforward things, like shrinking capacity, rising cost, like exactly the first 10 minutes of this meeting.
Yeah.
Like something like that, I think is like a very clear cut like explanation of
Right.
why we're even talking about changing the trash.
try
like-
like modifying the contract.
Yeah,
Okay, good, okay.
And then I think the nitty gritty and then talking about like the cart sizes, I think is great. And like just having that conversation, the pros and cons, and I can field questions with that and
Okay.
whatnot. But I think that getting into the nitty gritty of like contracting
Yes,
is probably
too much,
something
too
we
much.
don't want to go into.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna lose people when we get to.
hey, I lost my mind trying to do this.
Yeah.
I've been at the committee, so that's why I'm coming to all of you, it's like, we need to whittle it down to an outline. For the.
Basically, those are the things. Space is gone. Space is going.
Yep,
The costs keep going up
yep,
and we have data to support that.
yep,
And the only way we're gonna save any kind of money in the future is to figure out a way to reduce.
right, but then do we lead into the staggered approach at the public information session? Because don't you want some public input to, would you like to get rid of your,
Well, we already did get public input on that.
right?
Yeah, the
But-
survey gave us a lot. I mean, you could talk about it, of course,
Yeah,
but
because I think. if
that's
we-
why I'm saying
Right,
that this might be a staggered approach might make sense because we already got input that
that they
people,
want a lot more room for recycling.
people were saying they didn't have enough
I
room
mean,
than what they currently have.
You could even just like
You know?
pitch it as like, based off the feedback, we feel pretty confident that like the 96-gallon carts works for this community. We're thinking about moving forward with that before even making a decision on the trash. And I think it seems like there should be a general consensus on that, and it'll be more so of a select board decision based off like financial restraints than it is like a community conversation. The community conversation really seems centered around what size carts is feasible and hearing people's, and like, I think a big part of it is letting people say like, hearing those voices of, this is why 64 gallons won't, 35s won't work
Right.
for me. And it's like really like having that conversation. I think
Right.
and that should be a good.
Here's my
yeah.
concern though, with the 96-gallon, this bringing it out in front, I agree, I think it sounds like a really good idea, and it sounds like a nice way to start introducing or changing, we're going, the introduction of a standardized cart size is the first step towards standardizing so that we can become automated, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that's what's driving this, is the need to become automated. Okay, then on the other side
And the
of it
need
is,
to
if we're gonna,
recycle more.
the other side of it is if we're going to spend the money to become automated, we don't want to just spend it 1 year and then 5 years later want to redo those sizes. So we want to try and find a size that we can live with. So the survey seems to indicate people need more room for their recycling.
So maybe it's just a conversation on, because it's not like a decision's gonna be made at that information session, so maybe it's
Right.
just two sections. It's a section on talking about recycling cart size, which I don't think there'll be as much conversation around, but
Right.
still talk about it so that you guys have information, like if they're comfortable with an early rollout.
Yeah.
And so there's some more data for you
Right.
guys and for the board,
Right.
and then also a section on trash cart size and the two different programs, and
Right.
that I imagine will have a lot more conversation to
Right,
be had
right,
around
right.
it. So I think you have a point. I think talking about both at the information
Right, because I
session.
think if we just bring this to the board, to the select board with the cost, they're gonna say, well, you didn't talk, then we could point to the survey, but we didn't, bring forward the idea of rolling out early in the survey. Every time we bring something directly to them, they do the pushback. What do the people say?
Yeah.
So I think if we're gonna do information, then we should do information. We should have the cards there. If you want to, we could make mock-ups of garbage bags and show them
Right.
what fits in what. I mean, perfect opportunity to give people a real hands-on, because I think, honestly, like you said, I don't even know what gallon size kitchen garbage. I mean, I buy the one that fits in the thing,
Yeah.
whatever that is, right? So we're changing what we have, and we're trying to explain why is where it's at. Without, as you said, overwhelming people with way too much stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Because we have a lot of stuff.
yeah.
But if we're gonna talk about the need to go automated, then I should bring up the information from the waste management about the worker injuries. That's a pretty good explanation of why these companies are starting to say they're not going to
Right.
bid on proposals that don't allow for automated pickup.
Well, and they're gonna save money
Yes.
by having fewer employees.
And it'd be nice if we could have our pickup done in less than 5 days. That would be desirable. Not to have trash carts running around town every single day of the week. I mean, not that it's that big a deal, but
It's not that it's that, I don't think having the trash carts is the big deal. It's, can it save the town money to
Right.
have them here less days a week?
Yes.
yes,
That is
yes.
what would drive it for me. I mean, as a taxpayer in this town,
Yeah, true.
we're trying to save money.
Exactly, that's really gotta be made clear to folks that that's our main goal here,
Okay,
is we're trying to make our trash disposal not overtake our entire budget.
correct.
Yeah.
That's a
And
good way to
there's,
put it.
and there's ways we can make it better.
Right,
And, but it's gonna take all of us. It's not just like a couple of people. It's like we're all gonna have to realize, oh yeah, there's gonna be some changes. Some of them we're gonna love, some of them we might not love so much, but it's all for the greater good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I think generally, like, that's something that I thought when you sent that presentation was like, there is something to be said about like, oh, like the less, as a waste reduction effort, like the less waste I put out, the less money the town's spending on trash and disposal. Therefore, the more money the town has to spend on schools and things that I think people would
Right.
much inherently rather have their taxpayer dollars spent on than, so it's just a very interesting
Right.
waste reduction angle to talk about that. It's like, is this a good use?
I
of
mean, it's like a
taxpayer
win
funds?
for everybody.
Yeah.
right. When people say, why don't we have enough money for the school budget every year? Why don't we have enough money for the council on aging every year? Why is it?
What percentage is the trash budget, Rebecca, in our budget?
Oh, she-
What percentage is the trash budget in ours?
I think it's on this page,
If you put it into,
19%.
I have to rephrase this, 'cause I don't want
90%.
we don't want to mislead people. This 65% of our budget is the education assessment.
Yeah, no, I completely
So I
understand
took
that, and I,
25, and then I took out debt and retirement assessment and things.
but if you take out the education,
And the debt
it
and,
leaves you with 35% of the budget.
right.
And the trash is 19% of that 35.
19% of the less than, it's not 35 because I took out the debt
Okay,
and I took out the retirement assessment and insurance.
okay.
But if you take, so you're saying, if you take, looking
So
at.
I
just
can find out what percentage of the budget I'm talking about, but the point
Yeah.
is very.
But it's still
easy.
19% of 100% of the budget.
It's 19% of money that we have some control over. That's the way I look at it, like, it's sitting on the finance.
I mean-
Yeah,
It's almost 1/5 of the budget.
yeah, of the money the money we're allowed to allocate, yeah.
Yeah.
Things we can actually make a decision on in town meeting that doesn't,
19% of the amount of money we're allowed to allocate.
well, I know I don't want people to think that, it's the money that that we have discretion over, put it that way. The town has discretion, like we can debate it at town meeting, because only us, we're the only ones that make a decision.
19% of our
It's not a
discretionary
necessity.
budget.
Yeah, it's our what I call discretionary.
I think if you explain it, I think it makes
And
sense. You know what I
town
mean?
Services.
As you, the way you explain, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
town services.
Yeah. And it's growing. It's gonna get to be more than that.
Right.
So was it you who talked about their rolling out in Topsfield that they would offer somebody, a lesser fee to go do compost?
Yeah, that's what I was saying that
Okay.
they're doing, yeah.
That would be an interesting extra page to put out when we get to the trash part, but not now.
Right, right,
Now I think that will just send off, flares.
Because 30% of your trash is food.
right.
Yeah, that's what I found in doing that.
Not mine, I eat it all.
I mean, we're vegetarian, it goes in
So-
compost.
And that, yeah.
Does this sound correct to you, Brian? If this thing, I kept looking all over the internet, trying to figure out how many tons does a 64-gallon trash can produce? And it says a family throws out 64-gallon trash can every week for a year, they would produce approximately 1.3 tons of trash.
1.3 tons of
Is that
trash.
Mine,
Is that right?
I would have thought, I would have thought less than that, actually. I thought it's around like 1,700 or 1,800 pounds, I think is the
2,000
average.
Pounds of the ton, right?
Yeah, or maybe that's if it's, maybe, well, that's actually, no, I think that average that I'm thinking on is average, like, for communities that have 64-gallon carts, what are their average trash numbers? So maybe it is actually around that, if you're saying people really fold it up to the maximum every single week, people fill the
Yeah.
64-gallon all the way up, maybe it could actually get to that number, so it kind of makes sense, but I'm not totally sure off the top of my head
Yeah,
what the
because
number is.
when you look online, you try and find the comparables, it's really hard. There's all kinds of conversion tables that are very complicated.
But I can try to follow up on that.
It'd just be interesting, kind of
Yeah.
interesting facts for people to think about. So if you're putting like 3 kitchen garbage bags into your 64-gallon cart a week, you potentially could go to a 35-gallon cart.
But one, maybe,
One?
bag of trash.
Oh, my.
Maybe.
God, we don't even do that.
Sometimes
You're really good.
We don't
We're
put
not-
any trash out.
Right.
Oh, my
Skip a
God.
lot of weeks.
Yes.
One, maybe two. A week.
One white trash bag for the
No,
kitchen?
no, I use green trash bags, but.
Oh, you're
they're-
talking about trash.
But they're not full.
Okay, okay,
They're not full.
I'm
okay.
one,
Because the white trash bags they don't go in the barrel. They're too small for the barrel. The barrel I have is a little bit taller, that's why. So
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I don't want to get into it.
Okay.
that sounds
Should've-
complicated.
The barrel's just,
How's
it's an
your
odd
recycling
shape.
card?
and-
Has it totally broken yet?
No, I mean,
No,
I
you were
use
saying the
the
wheel-
green bins.
Okay.
I use the little green
I thought
bins.
Is it your trash cart that the
Yeah.
wheels come out?
Yeah.
I keep jerry rigging.
Yeah.
Oh, my
But I have
goodness.
2 of them and I've only used one for probably 10 years now.
Is there any reason to pursue any more information about towns that don't have all the trash in the budget? Or would it be better for us to look at towns like Boxford?
I would
Topsfield?
say that it's those towns that you mentioned are towns that the majority of their population is not on curbside, municipally funded curbside service. Like a lot of them are, like most of them drop out of a transfer station and most of them have a private hauler. So I think you guys are much more comparable to a Boxford and a Topsfield
Okay, yeah.
than you are on
That was
a.
Another dilemma is like, how much information do we have to be able to provide to people?
Yeah.
Unless you're proposing going to someplace like a place where you're dropping off at it.
Right, exactly.
Then I don't know if you wanna, that's apples to orange.
Yeah, which the town, which the residents end up paying way more
It's
for
gonna
that.
confuse people.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
We should
yeah.
be aware of that. If residents pay way more for an option like that. I mean, we should be aware of that knowledge to share.
I guess, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, we're not gonna create a transfer station in Groveland. That's
No.
not happening. That'd be one more huge expenditure.
Other than Mellow, where is there a place to go? And Mellow can get very difficult to get into on a weekend, you know,
No.
so. You know, there's nowhere else around. So
Right.
if that was gonna be the option that you were gonna propose, saying go into, you're gonna have to get a sticker to go somewhere else, or you're gonna have to take it somewhere else.
Yes.
you know, you'd have to give them options, and there's only one option that I'm aware of around. I mean, so.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
if we took like Boxford's most recent contract, we could see what they have for the next 5 years, that tonnage cost is probably what we're gonna expect, more or less, because they're with Mellow, I think.
Correct, we would be in line with some of whatever they
Okay,
have right
okay.
now, be able to get that information.
Okay. All right, so I feel like we have way more information than we need in this database of ours, but we've got to now whittle it down to what we're willing to present. Okay, so we'll do an outline for the public information system. So if I send it to Rebecca and then Rebecca sends it out and sees anybody's edits, that's not breaking the wheel.
As long as you, as a committee, are not communicating with each other.
We won't talk about it.
And only copy you back on the edits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apply to Rebecca only with edits.
Yes.
Makes sense.
And so it would make sense from what Brian just kind of outlined and then what you added, that we go at it from Brian talking about capacity, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. I talk about some cost things, blah, blah, blah. And then we discuss why the automation is an important component of worker injury. And then do we go right to cart sizes and then talk about the early rollout for recycling, or do we?
Yeah, cart sizes was at the end,
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna
cart
talk
sizes
about
at the
that, yeah.
end.
and maybe have
Results
some
of
more
the
visuals,
survey.
which would be good.
Right, results of the survey, tell
Yeah, I
us
think
what
that's
the
like the missing-
sizes people are looking at.
Yeah, so maybe I think that's a pretty good like flow. That's I was missing
Okay.
out of the
So
search.
that's not too much. stuff.
Yeah, like shrinking capacity, rising costs,
Yeah.
why the state funds what it funds.
Yeah.
Then you kind of get into what their budget look like when it comes to trash and recycling. The kind of the override history, doesn't have to go like too deep into the weeds, but this is like kind of like high level kind of like
Yeah,
budget thing. And then talking about the survey data, so that you got like knowing, taking it seriously. And then survey data kind of moves into like automation and cart size, so then that kind of goes into automation. And then why that's, we're moving in that direction, and then it kind of flows into recycling size conversation.
okay,
Then you can bring about, and then I think do we want it recycling roll out this year or whatever? And then and then I think the big chunk of it at the end, and leaving the most time for questions for sure, will be cart size. Maybe a demonstration. I think that's a great idea.
bags and throw.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Instead of putting bags into the carts.
When are we thinking this is gonna occur?
I thought we would try to do public information in March.
Yeah, do we have a date?
No, would you like to suggest some dates that are good?
Well, I'm just saying
I'm like,
March is next month, so we
Yes, I
should
know.
look at the calendar.
yeah,
And that way we can put it on the TV show.
the TV show, yeah. So. We could always go on and off money from the select board, but then the middle room is in use. So we have to, what about middle room use? What nights is it not in use? Like Thursday nights are open?
There's sometimes the Economic Development Committee meets on Thursdays, but relatively it's open on Thursdays.
Okay, so what about like March 13th? Is that too soon? I feel like we're just gonna have to wrap this up and put it out.
March 13th sounds good.
Looks okay right now.
Okay. So can we check on the middle room for March 13th? Okay.
And we'll put that on the TV show, March 13th, public info session.
I
Yes.
would wait until we just double check and confirm.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
we have 2 weeks.
Okay, so
What time are you thinking in the evening?
the same 6 o'clock?
Is that kind of early?
Do you think it's too early for people? I kind of feel like people can do what they want nowadays, right? Getting back. I mean, they don't all come home from Boston anymore, right?
I don't know.
It's kind of hard to get,
You
I'm
want to
retired now, but when I was working, I had a hard time getting back for a meeting at 6. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let's
A lot
do
of people,
6:30.
a lot of people work remote.
Let's do 6.
I know, people work remote a lot more now, but 6:30 is fine. I'm gonna do.
6:30 to 8.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's gonna
I
depend on the Thursday for me. I work late Thursdays anyway, so, but if I don't have anything of importance, then I'll leave early, but if there's something going on,
I
I'm not
just
gonna
think
be able.
6:30 gives it a little more latitude.
Okay. All right, and so we'll plan on that, and then that would put us in a position to. As long as we're posted that night. Is a select board meeting on the 17th? It's looking like, I think I
Today's the
have like duplicates, I think. Yeah, I show that we have a select board meeting on the 17th.
3rd, 17th.
So if you,
Yeah.
if we're willing to kind of look at how it goes on the 13th and say, sure, give it to the Board of Selectmen. tell them
We're
the select
reserving the
board.
room right now.
Okay.
Okay,
tell the
great.
Select
Thank you.
board that we got a pretty favorable response and this is what we'd like to try and do. Is it too late in this year's budget to think about this or not?
In terms of the allocation of free cash for the purchase of cards,
From the stabilization fund?
Yeah,
no, not necessarily.
Okay.
It's a simple warrant article. It's just a matter of trying to figure out how much funds we've already designated for our capital improvement plan that's
Yeah.
already been voted by the select board, in addition to the lovely weather that we've been having and whether or not we will have any
Hmm.
need to allocate additional funding for the snow and ice budget.
but we did, what did we certify? We certified.
A little under 1.2.
Yes.
But we
Good
still have
idea.
obligations to OPEB and to refunding our other stabilization accounts to bring us into coordination with their finance policy.
You're raining on my parade here.
It's just-
Grant, we need a
No, but I'm
So
saying
it's not like it's not.
Want that A++ rating, you better,
Yes,
We just
Keep
want to
going,
make sure.
right,
Did
no,
we say 6 p.m.?
6:30.
6:30 to 8.
And we'll have the
Is
card.
that enough time? 6:30? Yeah. 'cause
Oh,
we
yeah,
don't wanna
plenty
be
of
here that
time.
late.
If we can't get through the presentation in under 20 minutes, we should just
Okay, good.
quit.
Good.
Anything after 20 minutes, nobody listens anyway. Come to my classroom someday after 10 minutes.
So we'll wait till you confirm this.
It's
Okay.
confirmed.
It's confirmed.
Right.
We'll announce it on the show. Do you want us to put anything else? As an intro to anything? Maybe we just show that we can put 3 trash bags into the
We
35
have
gallon.
a raffle for a free car. No, I'm just kidding.
We did that already last year for Earth Day, right?
What did you, oh.
Or free car.
No, we gave away.
Or-
Instead of free car.
it's like I missed that raffle.
We did do the cart.
We gave a
We
card
did.
away for
Yes, you did.
Yeah, for
trash
trash pickup.
newsletter thing.
There
Yeah.
was no transfer of funds in that raffle.
No, correct.
Okay, so
Right. Exactly.
the report's good.
But it wasn't a car.
It wasn't like.
Too bad.
And then we will be posted so we can review our original recommendation to the board, the select board, and we can revise and push for just the one card and say the other one we want to hold on.
Oh, no, we can decide that. That was
Yeah,
a
that-
suggestion because.
No, that would be after the meeting. So then we have that, so we have that. Okay, I think we're good. Except for minutes, unless somebody thinks we didn't discuss something that we needed to.
I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention that due to the solid work of Melanie Smith in the Board of Health Office, we have been working with UTEC again to see if there's another option for mattress recycling. So she's been instrumental in
Good.
guiding that conversation. It's been a lot of back and forth with logistics in terms of whether or not we do a contract and whether or not there's any cost. It doesn't appear to be any cost to the town, but it's just some clarification that we need to go and we just need to clarify some information. But otherwise, we think we would be able to have UTEC come in once a month to pick up mattresses at the residence home for about $40 per unit. And they.
Wow,
that's
really good.
That's,
It's a big thing.
It's really
Melanie, and Melanie is
That's a big
fantastic
help.
and she's been great to work with. So I really appreciate the communication and we've been able to move that.
Is she a new?
That's
Person?
great.
Just,
Yeah,
Laurie.
Laurie.
Oh, when did
If
she
you have an old
start?
mattress, you can't get rid of them, right?
That's correct.
couple of months,
$40.
couple of holidays.
We do a little intro with her like we did with Arthur Marcos, where we walked in and we were like, hey, what do you do? And we put him on the TV show. Do you think she'd be open to do that?
I check with her before you just walk in and do.
No, I gave Arthur all the questions I was gonna ask him.
Um,
But they said,
she works Monday through Thursday, I think,
okay, cool.
so.
She's a very lovely individual. I
Yeah.
can get you in contact with her.
Okay, great.
She's
thank
very
you.
enthusiastic and she has a lot of great ideas.
Cool, cool.
That's good.
Another good team, new team member. Congratulations. Okay, so I have just minutes left on. this.
Minutes.
We're good. What do you think?
Yes, let's do minutes.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 9th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Quick.
Any more discussion?
Just
Now,
reading
call for
them.
the vote.
Just
All-
checking.
All in favor? Everybody was here, I think, right? Susan?
Except minus Bill.
Bill, yes, Bill had something with his hand, so I don't know. He is getting the emails, so I've
Oh,
covered,
good.
I managed to get that. Here it is. I had another hand surgery. More from that and from shoveling.
So are the survey
they
results
just-
on the website?
I wouldn't think so.
What's
Oh,
that?
yeah, did we close the
The
survey?
survey is closed.
Is it, are the results on the
For the
website?
select board as of January 31st.
Right.
Right,
So I
Perfect.
haven't,
results,
there was.
are they on the website?
The results are not on the website.
Okay,
No, because we have to go in and clean.
okay, so it hasn't, we don't have a copy yet?
Have you not seen the results at all?
Well, the
Didn't
last I
Everybody
did,
get the data? Yes, you got the raw data, right?
yeah, but everybody was cleaning it up the last
I know,
time
I
we
know. So
talked,
what
so
I
I
was
haven't
gonna-
seen the final.
So what I was gonna try and do is take, Becky had cleaned up the first, 600, and then you said there was maybe, what,
There was over 700, I think.
so another 100 to clean.
Okay,
So I can do what she did. Okay,
I'm just saying, we should
to what
review that
purpose?
before, well,
yeah, so
the
we.
committee needs to review that before
Okay.
we have an information session to make sure that we're understanding of the results, because
Okay.
what we saw was incomplete.
It was,
at our last-
incomplete, but I wouldn't think it's gonna change by that much. The thing that you can't really do, the thing you have to be careful about on the survey data is trying to connect one result to another.
Right.
Because some
I
people
just
answer
think we
one
need a-
question
once
and
we
not
close
another.
it, we
didn't
need the
make
final
questions
results.
Mandatory. So you could skip questions and just answer the ones you're interested in. Yeah.
Should we meet, what's today, the 10th? Do you think we should meet like, say, Tuesday of that week or something, since it's no, we could meet Monday that week. Just have one last meeting together before we do public information and then review the survey results or something that day? Public info, trash.
I think it's gonna be too much. I think we have to focus on getting the information out. The survey stuff can be cleaned up.
But I
and
thought we were gonna put survey results in it.
Not at this point, not if we're trimming this down to the public I mean.
Right, but as soon as it's ready, I think the whole committee needs to see the results. That's all I'm trying
Okay,
to
but
say, because we
when you
haven't
say
seen,
as soon as it's ready, so you wanna just see
I want to
each
see the
question.
survey results, yeah.
each question? Okay, that's easy. That's
Because we're
easy.
including that in our public information session.
We're including some of it, yeah. I wasn't planning to publish the whole survey.
Okay, yeah, no,
I mean,
I
it's like,
I don't think we need
it's
to,
so
but
much data.
should we meet, I
I know,
guess?
but there should be like a
irrespective-
pie chart for each question.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking
Whatever
about.
Becky was putting
Yeah,
together.
Becky did the
So you want
preliminary.
Pie charts or something like that? Well, how many questions do we have? 10? We had only like 10 or 12, right?
I don't think there was many, but I don't.
I know. Rebecca did a pie chart initially and then Becky was cleaning up.
I only took what we had from the Google data that was
Yeah,
there,
right.
and then I gave the rest of the data to Becky, who was going to put it into an Excel format, and she was going to clean the data because there was places where you could put text and there was other information
Yes,
that
yes,
she
yes,
thought
yes.
Right.
would be more
Just the
quantifiable.
duplicates.
Right.
And then she had not gotten the final results because we wanted to wait to the select board, because the select board was the one who
Right,
asked
right,
for the
right.
survey, so we waited for them to close it, which was January 31st, so
Yeah,
if the direction is to send her the final results so that she can clean them, we can then provide that data, but I'm waiting for.
because it's not really a meeting issue. It's just a matter of cleaning data and producing.
Right, but it only makes sense to have one person cleaning the data.
Right,
So she needs that data in order to
all right.
finish cleaning it.
So just, do you think
right?
Becky wants to clean the rest of the data? I wasn't sure. She had the time.
I
don't
don't
know.
ask
Okay.
it or
All right.
facilitate, so
I mean, it has to be finished,
Yes, I
correct?
know.
And she was kind enough to offer to do it, and she'd already done quite a bit, so, I mean, she needs to know too what the rest of her responsibility is, you know? And we need
Poor
to
Becky
see the
won't
final,
know.
we need to see the final.
Okay, but again, I don't think you need to meet on it. I mean.
I never said we had to
Well,
meet.
no, but do we need, I guess irrespective of the survey, do we need to meet one more time before we have a public?
I would meet a half an hour before the public comes in to make sure you got who's gonna say what. It's pretty clear how we're gonna do this, right? I
Okay.
mean, what's gonna change? between now and then.
All right, so we don't need another meeting between now and
I
March
don't think so.
13th.
I wouldn't overly complicate. I think at the end of the information system, we should stay posted and we should sit down. And say, okay, what do you think? You know, what are our recommendations at this point?
Okay,
Yes.
Chris Goodwin, Hillview Drive. Out of curiosity, what was the point of a public survey if you don't care about the results?
I do care about the
But,
results.
but you're not reviewing them before you're taking the next step.
No, we have seen them. We've seen 600. We just haven't seen 100 more. We're gonna see the rest of them too. I don't anticipate that those will be vastly different from what we've already seen. Right? I mean, a trend is a trend. Yeah. So all we're doing,
I mean, has the committee reviewed the trends and reviewed the data?
yes,
together?
we went through the data at the last meeting. We went through question by question. Well, you were here. Yeah, so you know we went through it. Okay, so of course we looked at the survey data. I don't understand why you would say we're not looking at the survey data.
We just haven't seen the complete.
You haven't
Final.
seen what Becky cleaned up.
We haven't seen the final because the survey at our last meeting,
Because we took in 100 more responses.
Right,
Yes, you
exactly.
Saw the age bracket data that I provided, right?
yeah, but we
Okay.
need a
And you
final.
saw the pie charts on all the questions.
Mhm.
So we'll just do pie charts again, but again, you know, this kind of a survey, I don't anticipate that you're going to see a big change in anything.
But I'm sorry, but that's not
Okay.
my
that's-
point. My point is,
Yes,
we took the time to do a survey.
yes, we did.
We followed
When we
the
got
protocol of the
results to
selectmen.
look at, yes,
And where we don't have a place anywhere where we
Right.
can pull it up, and if somebody asks a question of us, where we can pull it up and go, okay, yes, question number 2, we had 25% said
Okay.
this and 30. It leaves us with not enough
okay,
information.
but Jen, we did have it for the full 600 at our last meeting.
It was in a spreadsheet thing.
No, we went through the pie charts.
But it hadn't been cleaned up at that point
Yes,
completely.
well,
So
no,
I
we
don't have the final.
okay, so Jen, the only thing.
I just think we need the final.
Okay, but
results.
that data that we saw
Yeah.
had been cleaned. What's not cleaned is the 100 additional.
I don't think she'd had a chance to clean the whole thing that we saw.
That's what she gave to me.
That was after the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, she said she had more work to do on it.
So we'll get Becky to finish the cleaning if she's able to, and then
Right.
we'll do more pie charts again.
Right. We just need a final document.
Okay. We can have
So
that.
for everybody's sake and for all our knowledge of the whole
Yes.
process, we need a final
Okay.
document so that we're speaking truth.
Well, yes.
You know what I mean? Because I can't really say this percentage said this and that percentage said that at this point because I don't have a final document. That's all.
Right, but the questions that, like, we asked them were basically, do you have enough room for your recycling?
No, I know
Yeah.
that, but I'm
Okay.
a librarian. I need a
Just
final
demographics.
document.
Part of it was demographics.
Yeah,
Right,
but
but
I
we
think
did that.
if we, like Janice saying, we did the survey, to see the data is important. I mean, I do surveys all the time at work. If I don't have the data to back up what I did, then what good is the survey?
If anybody looks at it and feels that there's something in there that makes you think we need to meet, then we'll meet. How's that?
I don't think we need to meet. We just
Yeah.
need to have the data. so
Okay.
Each of us are
So-
educated as
Yes.
to the results
Okay.
of the survey.
Okay,
And so that if somebody who
Right.
isn't a part of this meeting and I see them on the street and they say, oh, well, what did, I can
What did-
point them to a result, because I can't do that now in all good faith. I don't have those numbers in my head,
okay.
and it's good to know how many people participated and what
Yes,
age groups
yeah.
and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
if somebody's taking all this time to clean up data, I do think it should be one person. So it's
Yeah.
clear what they're doing. And then we get a final document and then we'll all be happy.
And
We may
so-
not like the results, but at least we know what the results are.
Yeah, no, I think the results were pretty good, actually,
Yeah.
overall.
I have one clarifying. So Chris, just so from my knowledge, for where it stands now, you said it was 60% of people said more, they would need like a 64 gallon and 40% would need,
Yeah,
would be
it was
okay with
over
one, would be one, it was like a 60-40
Yeah.
from a one cart,
Yeah.
from a 35 to a 64 gallon, that like
There-
generally like.
There was,
But they want more than a 35.
Okay, but 40% said they'd be okay with their
Yeah,
30 or
right.
35 gallon, or no?
see, here's the problem.
Yeah,
So always in hindsight, when you look at a survey, the question was asked, would you support a 96-gallon recycle cart and a 35-gallon trash cart. And that was an overwhelming no.
Okay.
That was one question. So then there was the question, do you overflow on your recycle bin? And that was like a yes or no. Okay, then there was questions where this is where the data cleanup is kind of happening, where we asked them what size containers they had. I believe we asked them that. And that's where some people started to type in text
Okay.
instead of the numbers. We should have given them check boxes. And so they typed in numbers. So that's the data that she was cleaning. And then I'm trying to think of any more questions that really pertain to not to demographics, but to the actual,
Yeah, we asked
there was a
people if they
question on
composted,
composting,
yeah.
yep. Would you be interested? There was some wiggling in there. There was some.
I mean, that would be
some-
really good information.
Already do compost.
Yes,
Yeah.
some people do, so we can get that, but. Yeah, if we wanted to, because if we do end up doing this in steps, we might want to go out with a more specific survey about the composting and trash specifically to get the kind of answers you really need. Because we tied the two carts together in one question. That was
Specific
unfortunate.
Questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
they weren't given the option to, say yes to.
So I'd have to see the questions again.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it was a question that the select board had put forward, that the trash and recycling committee is recommending a 96 and a 35. Are you in favor of this? Yes or no?
But I mean, I can't remember all the specific questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know,
That's why
I
we
know.
need to see. it.
So we'll get that and have that available to all of you before the information.
So are we gonna meet at 6 o'clock before
I
the
think
thing
we
starts at
should,
6:30?
yes,
Meet
yeah.
at 6?
Yeah, to make sure that we have like, okay, here's how we're gonna do. Everybody gets to say something.
Is that good for your schedule too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that works.
Oh, Brian, you're gonna be there.
Yeah, because I'll do
Gonna
that.
talk about,
The intro stuff,
Okay.
the doomsday. Can you make like class?
Yeah, this is, I learned the other day, as I said, now that I think the interesting stat is 45, we send 45% of our waste as a state out of state, which I think is one of those like, so that,
Used your quote last month.
yeah.
But, so you're saying we send 45%?
We send, so yeah, we send it's like 40 to 45% of our trash that's generated in our state. To dispose of it, we send it to as far as Ohio, Alabama, some in New Hampshire. So that's kind of the goal, is like the states,
But-
like, can we,
How is that happening though? Like, because we have waste management, they don't send it.
not Groveland specifically, but just as a,
So
yeah,
what
as-
else-
See, some of our trash goes to New Hampshire when the incinerator is closed.
yeah.
It does.
Mhm.
So why would some other towns have to ship it out? Because they don't have an incinerator near them? Is it like Western Mass has no
I
incinerator?
mean, they have, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure where, like, whose trash it is, but that was the general
If
numbers.
if that became the norm, that would be really expensive.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. That's
Think
not
about
part
it,
of the
Cape Cod
capacity.
capped all their landfills. They all have transfer stations now, so they truck that all off Cape Cod. Where does it go?
I don't know.
Probably out of state.
That's.
We
yeah,
are
dude.
becoming the movie.
You know
Wall-E.
what?
Yeah, I loved your idea of people gotta watch Wall-E.
For real.
Yeah,
Can I
So-
ask one thing before we had talked last time about doing some visual audits. Are we gonna have waste management do audits? Or were you thinking somebody on the committee could go around and do a visual audit and just like be like, this person has this many barrels out or something?
Waste management won't do a visual
No.
audit. They have nothing in their contract that would allow them or incentivize and or
yeah, they pick up everything.
give them a.
So do we really want somebody
there-
to go and do a visual audit on a
Is there,
trash day?
what's the point of it though? See, here's the problem. It's like if you start to go down that path. We asked people to restrict to the 2 barrels. Some people are doing that.
Well, we had
some
talked
people-
about it last week.
I know,
Or last month.
But then I keep going backwards over.
Adjourn, can you close this?
So you.
Oh, you're leaving, sorry.
I-
You know.
Yeah, I
yeah,
have a
totally.
CPC
Yep,
meeting.
yep, yep.
You can nibble down.
So if you wanted to try to go onto a more positive path.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of come to accept that. We can talk to waste management. If people put out like absurd items, they shouldn't take them. we can ask them that.
I think they already don't, like somebody put a book, if they,
Yeah,
okay, so they don't pick that.
They don't take that. Okay, so,
Right.
so basically what they will take is people put out like 3 barrels, 2 of trash. I think they just.
4, people put out 4 barrels.
I don't see 4 that many.
Oh.
I know you have a 4, but the point is, I don't feel like we can do much about that without standardizing the carts.
Okay,
Yeah. 'cause
okay, that's a good point.
We can still ask the public to be cognizant about it. We can ask them to use the overflow bags. We can reiterate where they're available. And we'll have the overflow bags available, you know, on any rollout of any new program as well. So you'll always have a way, like if you get stuck, you had a lot of people stay at your house and you just got a bunch of trash that you don't want to have in your house anymore, you will have a ability to put it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's just a matter of what, I think we're not quite figured out whether we can do the 230. I mean, I'd like to be able to do the 235 just because that gives the future option to anybody in town to go down to the 1 when they're ready, if they're able. And if they're not, you've got plenty of room for trash. So you probably wouldn't need the overflow bag, which will probably go up to $4. Right? Because now you have 70 gallons of ability to throw out.
Well, there's still plenty of people that are willing to go to the 35.
Yeah, I mean, that's really like the crux of.
I think
yeah.
that we didn't ask people that
But we know
Specifically, yeah.
that there's many people who are already,
doing just a small amount.
Yeah.
So if we offer it and we offer.
I mean,
it-
3 of us right here.
right,
Right.
exactly, in this room right now.
But so the thing that I keep trying to wrap my head around is like, people that use the 35 are still contributing to our tonnage. So shouldn't there be a base fee?
I mean, if that's something that you wanted to explore, I mean, that,
Try and start budgeting tonnage outside.
And then
of
it's
the-
double if you.
that wouldn't have, I mean, the grant, from a grant perspective, that wouldn't, yeah, that's definitely like a town decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like if you start saying to people, well, now you have to pay a fee because you have 235s, but the person that's still throwing out tonnage with 135 doesn't have to pay anything towards tonnage. But they're still contributing to our tonnage. And the tonnage is the thing that we have a trouble budgeting for. That's the one we have to go up over the top of it in order to make sure, you know, how much money you put in there every year. You can't possibly budget the average. You can't count on that. So you have to pick like the highest month and the highest cost and say, okay, this is 12 months of tonnage. And
Yeah, but the
then-
purpose of paying the fee for the extra barrel is because the increase in the tonnage, if everybody's throwing out the same amount and it's a level off of tonnage, then the tonnage should average out to 35 gallons per household per week, and it should be the same every year in the long run, right?
You think it should be the same, but we've seen different things that just cause us.
But right now, it's the Wild West. That's
Right.
why.
It is.
But if
If you
everybody
go with
is
35 gallon,
limited
that's all
to
you're putting
35
out.
gallon bin,
Town, yeah, but then we're gonna start moving toward, if
Yeah,
we
that's-
start trucking tons outside of state, our ton cost is gonna go up. So I mean,
So here's the deal though, right now,
yeah,
okay, with what we proposed, everybody gets 35 gallon cart. We
Mhm.
can't guarantee that there will never, because we know trash costs will always be going up.
yes, we do, yeah.
So there may come a time, you never know, where you'll have to also buy a pay-as-you-throw bag to put in there to offset the cost of your trash.
right?
Yeah,
But right now, the point is 35. If you're gonna go over 35, then you've got to pay whatever it is a
Right.
year. That extra payment is gonna offset
The
what
tonnage.
the extra tonnage that's going in the
Okay.
trash.
So
So,
you think that's a better argument?
Absolutely.
yeah,
Okay,
I mean, to me, that makes sense.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just that I know.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
Some
what
say
what is the
not-
incentive to go to 35? I may as well say, well,
Yes.
you know what? What am I'm going to 35 and that's my limit. if what am I gonna go down to? Am I gonna go down to 20? Am I gonna go down to 10?
I thought you would pay an additional fee for the extra 35, but you'd still pay.
No, but what you're saying is even if you're only going to 135, we should charge a fee. If I go to 35 and that's where I stop, I don't go up to 70,
Yeah.
what is my incentive to go to 35 then, if I'm still getting
You don't have
charged
to
a
pay
fee?
the other fee.
Which is what, $150 or something? Like, what are we
Yeah, I
gonna?
mean, do you?
No, but you've got an incentive right there
Yeah,
to reduce your trash.
235 does
So,
not have.
so you
pay
don't
for
have to
that.
pay for another barrel.
That's
Okay.
right.
So there's your incentive. It's like, oh, wow. And the incentive for the town is if we give everybody 64, nobody's going to reduce.
Right.
Okay.
Except the diehard people who
Right.
have already reduced.
Yes.
Yeah,
So in order to reduce tonnage, you have to have a smaller container.
right.
Yes.
But you are giving
And you
people
may
an
never
option.
eliminate trash, and like Jen said, you may have to go to the pay as you throw at some point.
Right,
Or
we
to a fee,
don't-
flat fee all the way across the board at some point, but now this is where you wanna start.
Guys do buy. Do we know a town that has allowed the 235?
The 235.
Without a lot of problems. It has to be like an easy thing. People have to be able to just check off. that they
The
want
more
to-
towns have, the most of the 35 town communities just do have done like overflow bags, which is, I think, so this one's actually providing more. I think this one, like, it'd be easier for, I think, a resident to get on, well, actually like rest there. That's, I guess, an opinion. But, Topsfield will probably be rolled out earlier than you guys, so
We might be able to see.
you guys
that.
might be able to see a little bit of how like there's, how many carts
Yeah.
they do,
Yeah.
what they, because I
know
think
they're going
they,
to
so for
try.
example, they did they had a sustainability committee measure all the households tonnages, so they
Yes.
did that as an so they estimate that 50% of their houses will fit in the 35 gallon. So then already in 35 gallons, 50% go over, so that so I think they'll probably
How did they
budget.
figure that out?
They had like multiple times throughout the year, they went and like tracked it. They have a full blown sustainability like committee with a lot of volunteers. So they were able to,
Us? What is
well, I think they have,
Trash and recycling.
yeah,
is different.
yeah,
Yeah.
We estimate the tonnage per household.
yeah, exactly. So
Right.
that could be a sense of like how
But
many. will go over.
but that's just saying per household. They're actually saying 50% are actually doing it
That's pretty
and
good.
50% aren't.
Yeah.
Because they're going out and looking. You would have to go out and look at every single household in town.
Standardized cards right now, so you could.
Right, that's
never
true
be-
too.
You'd be killing yourself.
Oh, it's some
They
wacky
must already have standardized.
But you could go
cards.
around and
Yeah,
say,
I'm not sure.
but even so, you could still go
They-
around and say, Jan puts out one barrel and you could look at it and say it's a 35 gallon,
Not an idea.
you know?
Yeah, well, that's
I'm
exactly.
sorry, not Jan, Stephanie. I do that every single time and I apologize.
It's all right.
Jan puts out one barrel, Dave puts out one barrel, you know, Kathy puts out a barrel in composting, you know, or Dave puts out 5 barrels and it's like, well, he's only supposed to be putting out 2. So obviously you can go around and see who's putting out what when they know how many barrels are supposed to be out. So you could do it, but you have to put somebody out there, boots on the ground, in the street every week or 4 times a year to see how it does, how it
Is that what
works.
they
All
did?
two-
Yeah, they did a few times, like a
Houses.
quarter, maybe they
Yeah.
quarterly or something. I can get the exact, if you guys wanted to do that,
Yeah,
I can
let me
get the,
see
I
what
can get
they
the,
had
I
to
can get
do.
their process.
Yeah.
I just don't understand though, if the towns that give the overflow bag though,
Mhm.
then the trash guy's got to get out of the truck and pick it up.
They sometimes, they kind of like say, it's like, to put
Some of them
it,
say put it
if
on.
you do one,
Oh,
one
they put
bag.
it on the top.
Put it on the top,
Okay, okay.
And then some contracts, they've negotiated where like, yeah, they do have to get out, but because they have to do that, the haulers charge them
They do.
an additional thing per
Raise
bag.
them-
The barrel doesn't have to be completely closed.
That's why I
That is a
actually
myth
think,
in my
I actually think
opinion.
this, the
It can
35.
be open a little bit.
Oh,
They
okay,
say
but-
that it needs to be
But
closed
if
because
somebody
they
put
don't
it on
want.
the ground, somebody's
Yeah.
got to come and pick it up.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Truck.
Ostensibly.
Pick
They
it up.
could leave the lid open a little bit and still get it into
Okay.
the barrel, into the truck without dumping it all over the place.
But if you.
Dumpsters, they don't keep the lids.
But I just think we got to stick with what.
They say
The
they
bag goes in and the lid opens?
Just leave the lid, just put the bag on top and leave the lid like this. So the bag, and it should go in fine. I mean, come on. It's an automated truck.
The things we obsess about.
No, it's just.
Yeah,
it's just-
literally.
we can't-
But
We
at
have
any
to
rate,
focus. We have to focus.
yes.
Yeah, but that, to your point, that would be a good way of capturing, if you had that data, you could say, okay, so for Topsfield example, 50% of the town, they're expecting to order a 35 gallon, an additional 35 gallon cart. So when they order, they're ordering 1.5 the amount of
Right.
residents,
If
yeah.
we had, like, let's say, if we had time, how much of this town would we have to survey to be able to make this kind of a
You'd
statement?
have to go to all 2,200 houses.
Yeah, I mean, we,
And it
You would have to do every single house.
Take Tuesday.
You,
And A,
you would
Friday.
need, you would need to go to every street
did they
and
go to every
it-
house, you think?
I can get, I can get there,
Oh.
I can get there process.
you can't, you'd have to
I think
go
they
and
went
see,
there,
and you'd
yeah.
need the data to be able to say, the houses on X street, 50% did X and 50% did Y, or 25% did X and 75% did Y.
I mean,
it's not really gonna change what we're focusing
Well,
on.
no, but the neat part
It tells you
about
how
it,
many to order.
except
Yeah.
he.
You can probably,
They're able to say how many of their households can actually go right to the 35.
you can probably say that if you're gonna give everybody a
yeah, they're
35
locked in,
gallon
they're very. yeah.
tote, legitimately, you could probably say you'd need 1.5 times
Yeah,
the 35 gallons, because you figure
Okay, yeah.
50% people
Yeah.
are gonna say, I need the extra
Yes.
tote.
Yes.
At the very least, 1.25 times.
yeah, I think we could maybe get to 1.25 ideally,
Wow.
because that's be a lot less.
I mean,
But
at
they're
the
gonna
very
have to
minimum,
do it no matter what.
1.25% of, 25% of the people are gonna say, I need the
Yeah.
extra
Yeah,
tote.
I
At a minimum,
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
more than likely, it's gonna be 50% of residents are gonna say they need the extra tote.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, yeah.
So you figure if you're gonna order them, you don't order 4,400 35 gallon totes, you order 3,300
Okay.
gallon totes.
Yes,
Okay.
I agree with this.
And like I said, if you get two, you have more than 64 gallon capacity.
Makes
Yes, you
sense?
do, so you won't need an overflow bag probably ever.
And then when they
Probably
decide they can
not.
actually get down to 35 gallons, they just give it back?
Yeah,
They
and I
could,
think that,
yeah.
I think that is a real cool
I-
flexibility of the program, actually, is that, yeah, residents have that option. Say you have a family, say you have kids and then they move out, or whatever, or you're
Yeah.
able to fit, for whatever reason, you're able to
I
fit down into that
out.
35.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you know what you can do?
A week or you're gone.
That's another incentive.
The next family that moves in, you don't need to buy another one. You recycle that cot and give it to that family. And then you, that 25 or 50%,
Survey from the sizes of family, we have people where their adult children have been moving back in. Not. the
Right, I
other way
mean,
around.
that's the
Well,
thing.
it's always gonna be,
All to the no.
Change, so
So
that
it's
gives
gonna be
people
half.
flexibility and another incentive.
Yes,
If you don't want to pay that annual fee and you figured it out, your families work together and you figured out how you can reduce your
Yeah.
trash, then you're gonna save yourself
And
X
remember,
number of dollars a
you're
year.
getting this coffin-sized recycle
I
tote.
know.
bodies in there.
So
don't tell my husband those words, I mean.
you're gonna have plenty of room to recycle. So,
If I witness Stephanie, and he lives on my street.
The other thing
so you
too
don't
is
see me out of the
The
house.
the highest trash time is over the holidays.
exactly.
And that's when the survey went out. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah, good point.
No, I know that, yeah.
So we have
Let's
to
pick a
remember
different
too.
time of year next.
So that is a high trash time.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
Right, and a lot of cardboard, so like Rebecca said, she's been speaking.
Oh,
to-
yeah, we didn't talk
for
about that at all.
prospective haulers that maybe the town might be able to have a place to drop off extra cardboard.
Yes.
If you found that you had a lot of
Cardboard
cardboard.
robot. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like when,
Yeah.
like at the town site, like we drop off
Yeah.
yard waste, so.
But it will be
there could
easier to get it in that cart.
Oh, well, that. then
And
would
if
be
you
fine.
break the boxes down, don't just throw them in their hole, break them down. You'll,
Not that-
I'm not talking about you in general. I'm just saying
I'm like.
in general, because listen, I work in a municipality. I watch people go to the tote in the office and throw whole boxes in. It's like, break the box down.
So
You'll get
annoying.
so much more in there.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Amen.
All right.
I think it's really.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Pass,
So
please,
moved.
yeah, before we do more.
Second,
Okay.
David,
favor?
Stephanie,
We're adjourned at whatever time it is.
7:51.